From the Hollywood Reporter, in a story by Ethan Vlessing, Olivia Wilde talks choosing art over audience approval. I don't make movies so people love them. Strange.
Great business model.
The Hollywood actor turned Helmer told the Red Sea Film Festival directors have to choose between being a celebrity or an artist. Okay. Badger, if you would, we'll get into this story. I'll get that there.
A Hollywood star, Olivia Wilde, warns social media and the embrace of fame pose an existential threat to filmmaking as a storytelling art. Directors have to decide at a certain point, do you want to be a celebrity or an artist? Because of social media, it's becoming even more combined to something that is quite dangerous for the art form. Wilde said while taking part in an informal conversation at the Red Sea Film Festival on Saturday, when you conflate filmmaking or acting with large-scale acceptance, you immediately cut off every opportunity to do any risky work. So it was important to me to never become overly focused on being accepted or loved, she added.
Well, there you go. Right. Just this last paragraph here.
To get away from the Hollywood bubble, the actor turned director told the Red Sea Film event she remains inspired by film from far-flung countries not dominated by social media and cliches. I'm so interested in films coming from a society that has been indoctrinated with the same amount of cliche. I'm so interested in films coming from a society that has been, I think she meant I'm not, but either way,
hasn't been.
Yeah,
she's saying she's coming from a society that has been.
Wilde said she talked about the social media increasingly shaping Hollywood movies and TV series. As a dual U.S.-Ireland citizen and having gone to acting school in Dublin, Wilde added her real dream is to make a film in Ireland. Her Irish roots spring from her parents. And
Cockburn. Here we go. What do you guys think of this? And I'll say this. Some of the greatest filmmakers today aren't on social media. Chris Nolan, I really think Chris Nolan, he's the modern day Spielberg. He just is. Along with Denis Villeneuve, when you look at the track record, the filmography, the consistency of quality work. So those people, they don't even bother to, have a social media presence. Now there are like Denis Villeneuve and Chris Nolan fan accounts that tweet out stories about them or videos when they do interviews. But I swear between Villeneuve and Nolan, they are the ones, saving modern cinema. So thoughts on this from Olivia Wilde, who,
I think it's goofy of her to say she's not trying to make movies for people to love, right? I get what she's trying to say. I do get it. Like, she doesn't want to make, the same Hollywood drivel that we see day in and day out. I understand that part. And if she would have said something like that, I would have said, okay, that's fair. But to say, like, I'm not trying to make movies for people to love them, she sounds weird. She sounds pretentious. The only movie I saw of hers was Don't Worry, Darling. And that movie was dumb. So, like, I don't know what kind of, platform she's trying to put herself on. I don't know if she's trying to compare herself to some of the great filmmakers, but she's not a great filmmaker.
Yeah, I think Booksmart was. Didn't she make Booksmart?
Yes.
That's a pretty great movie, though.
I read it as she's not trying to make commercially. I'm just not trying to go full on commercially popular. Films. I want to stick to something that is grounded and real to me and the art. That's how I read it.
Yeah.
I agree with Dante's point. If she just said it in a way that just doesn't make any sense, because obviously if you're making a movie, you want something that's also not just personal to you and it means something to you, but you do want to find an audience for that film that people will enjoy. So it does come off very pretentious the way she said it, but I get it. It's either you want to be a celebrity and you want to be a famous director and you want to make movies that everybody, loves, but then you have to kind of lower your, like, I don't know, your artistry and just make something for the masses, pulp, stuff for the masses, just go ahead and consume it. Or do you want to make something that has some meaning, some art to it? So I get it. And yeah, but she just probably worded it the wrong way.
Yeah, because it comes off as kind of a slight to audiences, to us.
Yeah, it does.
And I think we're kind of tired of the artists, the actors who believe that they're above us. Realizing that we're the ones who in a sense pay them, who provide their paychecks. It's this to me just came off as privilege. Because I'm gonna take all this money in, raise all this money and make a movie for me. And right. Whether you like it or not, I don't care. There's only one person who can make a movie for themselves, and apparently that's Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah. Well, and it's also hard to take her seriously when she was served with like divorce papers at CinemaCon while she was giving a speech. Wow. And also had an affair with her star while she was making "Don't Worry, Darling."
Yeah, I think it was child custody papers
she was served.
Wasn't it Harry Styles she was messing around with?
No, it was, yeah.
It was interesting because she's talking about how more women need to be directors in Hollywood in this article. And there's another article, a Deadline article, that finishes what she's saying. And she says, "I'd rather be controversial than boring. You never want to make a movie as a director that people are like, I don't know, I felt nothing. I'd rather people hate it than feel nothing. At a certain point, I realized I don't want to have my value deplete at the point where my wisdom and experience is at its apex. I want to be celebrated for my experience and as opposed to some sort of value based on something that is inherently fleeting." So she's taking like a very feminist point of view. She wants to be celebrated. She could care less. She really could care less. But
how about your work being celebrated?
Yeah.
That's
the statement lacks humility. The statement lacks humility.
It does. Yes.
It's one thing to say I'm an artist and I want to touch people. I want to make people think, but that's not how it's coming across. It's like I'm the filmmaker. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that, and you need to come along the ride for me.
I'll say this: I did really like her in Her. She was in Her with Joaquin Phoenix. She has a bit part. She's a date gone wrong.
Yeah.
She's unhinged. She's not on screen very long, and she's really good. So,
I think she's really talented. I mean, yeah. I do. I really like Booksmart. That was her debut feature. I was really impressed by that.
Same.
But I was able to see she made a I guess call it a pitch reel for "Don't Worry, Darling" that I was able to see. It was shown to me, and I was very impressed by how she was able to convey what she wanted to do with "Don't Worry, Darling." And while I think that the story was a little overly familiar, and I did think that there's a lot to like in that film, I don't think it worked entirely. So she's very talented, but why not let the work speak for itself?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why? That's what as all filmmakers
like this for her next movie.
Well, there you go. She could be the person in the poster.
I agree. She needs to let the work speak for itself, as opposed to I'm a woman, so you have to like it because I'm finally breaking glass ceilings in Hollywood. Women are finally becoming directors in Hollywood, so that means you have to like it, and whether you like it or not, it still has to be celebrated. Like,
no one's ever stopped women being directors. Anybody can pick up a camera and make a film, and that's what. And nowadays, you hear more. It used to be when Chris first started Film Threat. And you're talking about the beginning of the burgeoning independent film scene that happened in the beginning in the late 80s and early 90s. Nobody was preventing anybody from picking up a camera. No one tried to stop Spike Lee from making She's Gotta Have It.
There's no barrier to entry.
No,
in the indie film world, there is no barrier to entry. But I'll say this: certain people are attracted to certain types of jobs.
That's very true.
I have worked in TV production. It's mostly the hair and makeup department, mostly women and gay men.
Yep.
There is no barrier to entry for straight men to do those jobs. But I think that certain personality types are attracted to certain jobs. That is a fact of life. That is just the way things are. But no one is stopping anybody. Anyone.
That's funny. She's the second actress that I've seen within the past week talking about how they need more women behind the camera. Because Michelle Yeoh, an article came out last week, I think, about her saying that she kicked the glass ceiling down for women to direct, and we need more women storytellers, and we need more women directors in Hollywood. and that they want at least a seat at the table. And it's like, nobody is holding you back from having a seat at the table. There's been no barriers for you guys to do that.
I'll
So-
say something controversial that maybe would get me canceled, and I don't care. I'm going to say it. The problem is, yeah, again, Alan, you and I see a lot of indie movies. And I feel for certain types of filmmakers, there is a burden to say certain things. A female filmmaker, a woman filmmaker, I think comes with a burden that, well, you have to say things about, you have to comment about men. Or even with, I'll say this, filmmakers of color somehow feel they must comment on
This is
race.
male privilege. This is white privilege.
You don't have to comment on race. You can
don't
just
have
make
to
a movie
comment.
about people. This is why I like Jordan Peele and the films he's done. He makes movies about people. Isn't all big. Now, does he comment on things? Yes, in a very smart way. But what I'm saying is the burden that I think comes with filmmakers that are not, I think, and I don't look, one of my closest friends when I was in college was a black filmmaker. We were students together studying film, and he would only cast white people in his movies. Black director wanted white people. He said, because white people are just generic people and I can just do whatever I want. And that was a crazy statement. This was in the 80s.
He was totally right, though. Like, and I completely understand why he said that, right? It's because that way he can't get typecast, he can't get pigeonholed, he won't be stuck making black movies, right? He can just make any movie. So, and that's it's unfortunate that, and let's be real here, man. I mean, we talk a lot of stuff about woke and everything like that. Hollywood, for the longest time has put people in their categories, right? Like there was a time where if you were a black actor, you were only in black movies or black TV shows. That was it. Don't get me wrong. You had a few tokens here and there, but for the most part, you were placed in a specific box. And so I get what your friend was talking about there.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking forward to just like Jordan Peele. And we met him once at a DVD release party. For what was that movie? God, I'm just
for Nope.
Yeah, for Nope.
Nope. Yeah, that's where Kiki Palmer. They were all there. It was fun. It was fun.
I like the way he approaches his characters. They're people first, and any sort of immutable characteristic is down the line on the list of attributes. Right?
It is a privilege, like you were just saying.
To Ryan Coogler's new movie, it's just a horror movie. It looks. Have you seen the trailer?
Yeah,
it looks good.
Period vampire film.
Yes, just a period vampire thing it looks like a video game too. Part of it, like I mean, in a good way. The
problem though is that now Hollywood's trying to overcompensate by. I get it. They were pretty shitty to black people earlier on, but now now what they're doing is the opposite, right? They're making black characters where there shouldn't be black characters, right? Like Victorian London. Stuff like that, or
they're
Vikings, black
Vikings.
Like, what are we doing here, people?
Well, that's stuff dumb too. But Hollywood Shuffle, just real quick, Hollywood Shuffle. At the time that movie came out,
Robert Townsend's film.
That was very relevant and very true, which was also why it was funny, but had a great point to make. But we're not in Hollywood Shuffle days now. We can anyone can make a story about anything and make it interesting.
Well, Chris, the problem is that doesn't sell, Chris. The thing is, racism still sells, but it sells in a different way now. See, now it sells when you slam white people. That's like the new racism, right? It's the way to get ahead. Like you said, it's like, hey, you know what? Yeah, I'm a successful black filmmaker. I live in a gated community. I drive a Lamborghini, the whole deal. But white people and oppression, that's the real problem, right? It's this weird. Again, it's the victim economy. Even when you've made it, you still got to subscribe to the victim economy.
But Chris, they need a Hollywood Shuffle for this day and age. Like they need somebody to write a Hollywood Shuffle for the current era, the DEI Hollywood that we have right now, where they're just like you guys said, the overcompensation for all of this. We need that,
because we need a black director to make it.
Well, yes.
Exactly.
Make it a comedy.
Here's the thing I think isn't spoken about. The way people talk about gatekeeping or keeping people out of Hollywood, they're acting as if there's a bunch of people who want to get into Hollywood that somehow are being prevented from doing so. And if you think about it, like Catherine Bigelow, who's one of my favorite directors, she's also a woman. Her first film she co-directed was a movie called The Loveless that starred Willem Dafoe, and it was a biker gang movie. It was not a female film. Then she went on and directed Near Dark. She did The Hurt Locker. She's never made a film. I mean, she's done things like The Shape of Water that had more female characters, but Near Dark is an incredible vampire movie. She made a movie with Jamie Lee Curtis and Ron Silver called Blue Steel.
Oh, great
Jamie
movie.
Lee Curtis is a cop.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, what's so interesting is everybody acts like there's 100 people that want to get into Hollywood. And of those people, there's the exact same number of all different people and sexualities and ethnicities that all want to get in. And Hollywood is only picking, it was only run by white dudes. It's because white dudes were the only people that wanted to get into Hollywood for a long period of time, because making movies is a crazy thing to want to do. And as culture changed, like the blaxploitation films of the 70s, suddenly you had black actors and black filmmakers and black artists who had a way in, because they had urban audiences that were watching these films. And that's how you had the rise of people like Fred Williamson and Richard Roundtree and Pam Grier,
Max Julian,
and Rudy Ray Moore, you know, and they were filling a niche, and they were jumping on board. And then the blaxploitation films as a genre kind of died out, you know, and no one is preventing anybody. We have more technology now. People are carrying around 4K cameras, and you can get camera mounts. I mean, anybody could take 2 4K cameras and make a film that looks like a Hollywood production. The reason they're not is because it's incredibly difficult to do it. And it's incredibly difficult to have a dream to make a feature film and follow it and make a film. And then you have to be talented as well. And the very medium of filmmaking and feature filmmaking, we as audiences, we can tell if a movie's good or bad in the first 60 seconds.
Oh yeah.
Has someone made a film?
I've said for years, man, it's hard to make a bad movie, right? Like, it's hard to make a bad movie, much less a good movie, man. Like, filmmaking is brutal. There are people who've almost like went crazy trying to make movies, right? Like it's not an easy thing to do.
Not at all.
I would never want to be a filmmaker. I can never be a director. I just couldn't do it, man.
It's really, 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 really hard. And most people would not want to do it in the first place. And the people that do want to do it get weeded out. And it's, I mean, Chris, you know, how many people, when we first moved to Hollywood, you know, 30 years ago, how many people are still here?
Yeah, people do leave. I mean, it's
the rate of attrition in this business will kill you.
Yeah.
Because you have to, unless you're making things, unless you're producing material, you're out.
And back then they were working with celluloid. They were working with film, right? Like that was a whole nother animal, man. Like,
which was very expensive.
Yes, it was expensive. And if you ran out of film, guess what? Your movie is done. It's finished. Like, filmmaking is hard, man.